someone said to me that they don't enjoy MMORPGs anymore. They don't enjoy them as much as they used to when they were a kid. And I said, okay, whatever game you played when you were a kid, how long did you play it for? And they're like, oh, hours. Every day after school, come home, hours invested into it. I knew all the NPCs, I knew all the shortcuts, I knew how to kill all the bosses, I knew all the little in-jokes. Okay, cool. And how long have you played this new game that you're trying to recapture that magic with? Day or two. Sometimes if you invest a lot of time into something, you form a connection with it. Not necessarily parasitic, not even necessarily Stockholm Syndrome. Sometimes it is a genuine, loving, deep connection, even with a game. And you have that and you enjoy that and no one can take that away from you. And then when a new MMO comes along and you jump in and you play, you're almost expecting that game to have the emotional depth and connection and complexity and richness that you've spent years forming in another one. Imagine if you have a fantastic relationship and then the relationship ends for whatever reason, either good or bad, and then you start a relationship with someone else. You won't have all those little quirks. You won't have the same love language. You won't have the same connection to that new person because you haven't spent enough time with them to build it up. Sometimes when people say, oh, I had my most amazing MMORPG ever as a child and now I'm just jumping from MMO to MMO, you sometimes aren't giving those new games enough time, enough chance to form the same emotional connection that you had with an old game. People say, oh, I love World of Warcraft and I play a new game and it's not the same. Okay, well, maybe if you played that new game for the same amount of time that you played Warcraft, you would have maybe a similar connection to it. But time investment is a really big thing. People need that. Yeah, but it's a similar argument to it gets good after 100 hours. Absolutely. It absolutely is. But I think when people say, oh, this game isn't as fun as another game, yes, the gameplay does need to be accessible. Yes, it needs to be tight, it needs to be objectively well made, it needs to have some subjective enjoyment to you, but it's also impossible to form the same emotional bonds within 5 hours that you've spent 5 years forming. It's impossible to do.